Superboy number 6, written by Scott Lobdell, art by R.B. Silva. Last issue was Superboy number 5, but you need to have known to read Teen Titans number 4 and 5 because those are the immediate precedings of this issue. Superboy 5 doesn't even matter. So, Superboy 6 picks up at the tail end of the fight with the Teen Titans. We don't see it happen, but it's literally beat for beat what happens in that book, except we get more of Superboy's internal monologue. I'm just like, oh, I fought the Teen Titans and blah, 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 blah. And he talks to Solstice for a second, and Solstice just is like, oh, there's blood on your hands, and nowhere is bad news, and there's a culling coming and a dark harvest, and you're going to be on the bad side of things. And Superboy's like, I don't believe you. And she's like, well, all right. So then Superboy headbutts her, knocks him out, and then flies away. But I guess believes her enough that he goes to the van that is keeping an eye on him during this whole battle, kicks it into the river, and says, hey, I'm done with the lies and the truths. Let Templar know that I'm coming for him to get answers. And then we see him just flying over the city. I think it's New York. And it's just, he's so emo the whole time. Like, free will isn't a blessing. It's a curse. Why do I feel so haunted? So bad. Like, shut up, dude. Anyway, he got his outfit ripped in the middle of the fight. And then he makes a comment of like, oh, hey, my costume's fixed. I wonder if that's part of my powers or if it's the suit or what. And then we just don't ever bring that up again. So I'm mentioning it to you just so you know they're not going to bring it up again. Also, he's possibly experienced guilt for the first time, which I feel like he has before, but regardless. Anyway, he looks over and there's Supergirl. So you also need to be reading Supergirl. Kind of. I'm so confused. So Supergirl shows up, and she is talking in Kryptonian, which of course he can't understand. And she's like, hey, why are you wearing my family symbol on your chest? And he's like, whoa, hi, nice to meet you. And she's like, oh, you don't even speak Kryptonian. You suck. And he's like, all right, well, I don't know what's going on, but this symbol, are you part of Nowhere too? And when he's pointing the symbol, Supergirl is like, yeah, that's why I'm here, the symbol, because I saw it and I came to investigate. And as soon as she touches him, there's like some telepathic link thing that shows Krypton being like completely destroyed. And immediately he pushes her away with his telepathic ability. But then he starts talking in Kryptonian. And he's like, why'd you do that to me? And she's like, whoa, all right. So I guess you do speak Kryptonian. What's up? And very briefly in the conversation, he's like, all right, so I know that you're a full alien, not a half alien like me. You're not a clone by Nowhere. And as soon as he says the word clone, Supergirl punches Superboy into outer space, yelling out Kon-El. And he's like, I don't even know what I did this time. So he's up in space. She flies up and then does the whole hammer down back to Earth thing. And as she's trying to beat him up on the way down, she finally catches one of her fists, and then I guess that he's made the assumption or learned somewhere in there that the clones of their world rose up in revolt. And he uses his powers, and it does something to Supergirl to actually knock her out for a second, but he grabs her cape, and he's like, hey, I don't want to fight. I just want answers as to who I am and why you got so pissed off that I'm a clone. And Supergirl explains that there was apparently a disastrous experiment with cloning on Krypton, and all of the clones, which are called Kon-Els, that's why he's called Kon-El, deal with it, are apparently end up, no matter what, as mindless killing machines. And as soon as they come to that realization, as soon as he's like, oh, really? Seriously? The police show up in a helicopter because he has just been wrecking Times Square on New Year's Eve. And Superboy knocks it out of the sky with his telekinesis, but he makes sure to make them land gently, just enough to not bother them. But when he turns around, Supergirl's gone. And he's like, how'd she move so quickly? Oh, God, she had answers. Oh, and what about those clones? Oh, that's going to bother me all night. So then we get the Supergirl side of things, and for some reason she's just in her head of like, oh, who was that man? He's so innocent, so lost. Or maybe he was scheming and trying to get my cells to clone me. whatever. So then we see Superboy flying back to the Nowhere base, and he's pissed off that everyone's lied to him since before his birth. So he arrives and he cracks open the door and he just yells out, "Templar, I want to fight." But as soon as he cracks it open, inside it's not Templar, but Rose Wilson, who's like, "Oh, Templar's gone. You're going to have to fight me, and I'm looking forward to killing you for a long time." And that's where we leave off. Because I have been reading Teen Titans against my will, I get it. I understand how this flows. But nowhere in here, like, this isn't the sort of thing that you're just like, oh, hey, at some point I fought the Teen Titans, and you just deal with that. We open up with him battle-scarred with their bodies lying all around him. That's not something that you can just say, oh, by the way, you should have picked up those previous issues. I hope you were. Like, what? No, you tell us that. That's a crossover. You've made this a crossover now, and you need to tell us this so we know what issues to buy. I'm pissed off for people 10 years ago reading this. As for the Supergirl thing, like, where I am in Supergirl, it doesn't even make any sense that she's here at any point. Like, there's no point where this fits in. So it must be that somehow this happened 2 months ago to the Teen Titans, but is going to happen in like a couple months for Supergirl. Whatever. Point being, it's not an awful issue. It's not like doing terrible things. There are certain points where I wish Connor would just shut up, but at the same point, has he ever? So I can't be that upset at it. It just feels like such a nothing issue. It just feels like, oh, well, every other book we've managed to cross over with Batman, but we can't really justify Superboy meeting Batman. So instead we'll use Supergirl. There we go. That's the crossover to get those books going. Despite the fact you had a crossover with Teen Titans, but regardless, it doesn't matter. Okay, so anyway, I'm giving this just a straight 5. It doesn't do anything particularly good, but it also doesn't do anything particularly wrong. For me, reading it 10 years later with reading everything. I am docking like half a point for the fact that for previous readers, people who had to pick this up issue to issue, this was stupidly done. You don't open a scene at the end of a battle that is very critical to understanding future developments of this character. Okay, no. 5 for this. God, I hope we get somewhere fast.